Caffeinated Cooper Show.
Good evening. It has been a big day here in the studio, and it is getting even bigger. I have an amazing, beautiful lady connected. Her name is Veronique Windsor, and Veronique is the author of Baking with Cannabis. Now, what is so interesting, and we're actually about to get into that. Let's talk about our sponsor for just a moment. See, I'm so excited. I was about to skip over my sponsor. I can't do that. Viter Energy and Viter Gum. They have been an amazing sponsor of the show, as they all are. Viter Energy has a full array of flavors, as you can see here on the screen. I have 3 of them in my hand right now. This is cinnamon, wintergreen, which I love, and spearmint. So let's learn a little bit more about goviter.com, which is where you can get your Viter Energy mints or gum. It has 40 milligrams of caffeine per mint. And I've got to show you these little mints. They're probably about maybe double the size of a Tic Tac. That is half a cup of coffee. And it is all clean caffeine. It is enriched with vitamin B complex in each mint, niacin, B6 folic acid, B12. There are 20 mints per tin, sugar-free, 0 calories. They do have a strong, not quite like an Altoid, nothing that's too shakingly strong, but a strong minty flavor. They're vegan. They're Star K kosher, gluten, dairy, soy, and wheat-free. And you can purchase them at goviter.com, or Amazon, and Walmart also carries them. Their flavors, again, are wintergreen, spearmint, peppermint, cinnamon, and chocolate mint. That's a different flavor now, isn't it? Chocolate mint. So if you need a little perk in your day, find yourself a Viter mint or Viter gum. They are wonderfully refreshing. All right, so let me get back to what I was so excitedly talking about, which is cannabis and baking with cannabis. I am extremely excited for this show because I don't know how to bake with cannabis. As much as I would love to, I have no clue. So we're going to learn more about that. The yummy treats are unbelievable to die for. You have to see some of these images that I have that we're going to show in the broadcast. And without any further ado, I would love to bring to the broadcast Miss Veronique Windsor. Veronique, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Elizabeth?
I am doing fantastic. Now, you have an amazing new cookbook, and I've got to say, I'm an East Coast girl, so the world of cannabis and hemp and knowledge of it is just getting here onto the East Coast. Veronique, where are you from, and where do you currently reside?
I'm a California girl. I'm in Los Angeles. So I started with marijuana. We didn't really call it cannabis. We called it weed in the 70s. Okay, so there was, I don't know where you were in the 70s or if you were even on the planet yet, but in the 70s, there was like the cool kids who were sort of into drugs, and then there were the straight kids who were not. And I was always in the cool kid group. Okay, so back in the 70s, if you wanted to bake with cannabis, what we thought you did was you basically just crumpled it up and threw it in brownie mix. Did you ever try that?
Sure, yes. That was really until we met not too long ago. That's really the only way I know how to bake with it.
Okay. And so one of my people that wrote blurbs to me said that it looked like horse poop because you have the grain of the leafy and it's just no. So what we have learned over the years that when you bake with it, you first have to make an extract, okay? And you're gonna, in the book, I show people the cover here. People think it's a little glary there that we're, so anyway, people think it's just brownies or cookies, but you can really do anything with it. So you're going to make an extract first. And in the book, I teach you how to do butter and or coconut oil. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I can tell you really briefly how to do it here. In the book, it's in detail, but really briefly, you have to decarboxylate your marijuana. Okay, so that's a big word. I know, and it might be a little bit scary, but it sounds chemical, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
it does.
All it means is that you're going to heat it up a little bit before you start working with it. Okay. So if it's unsmoked, unvaped weed, you're going to put it in your oven at about 240 for about 20 to 30 minutes just to heat it up. It starts to release some of what it is you're after when you bake with it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you first heat it up a little bit, and then you're going to infuse your oil or butter or whatever you're using by using a slow cooker.
No way. Oh, that makes
Yes,
so
way.
much sense.
Yes way. Okay, so then, all right, so you've done your decarboxylating. Let's say you're using fresh weed. You decarboxylate, you put it in your slow cooker and then in the book, I talked to you about dosage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge. People were saying, well, it's a cookie. How do you know how much to eat?
Mm-hmm.
So when you make your oil or butter, you're going to kind of learn how strong to make it.
Okay.
And that'll be up to the user, All right. So based on however strong you want to make it, you're going to put in your decarboxylated weed, your butter or oil or whatever you're using, cover it with water. We use sunflower lecithin to it makes it more workable.
Mm-hmm.
Put a little of that in there, cover it with water, 12 hours if you're using butter. Later, after you heat it, you strain it through a strainer and cheesecloth. Okay, so you get a pretty pure looking oil or butter that you can use in your recipes, and there's no leaves or there's nothing like that, so you can make beautiful things.
Oh my goodness. That, there's definitely a process. It sounds like a timely process to it, but it also sounds very easy, very doable for the common person out there to be able to achieve the can of butter. Now, let's go back to what you had just mentioned about the dosage. Is there any type of measuring? Is there any type of idea of how many milligrams would be in, let's say, a teaspoon or tablespoon, or is it just not even measured that way?
Okay, yeah, and that's such a good question, and people ask me that a lot. And how do you know how much to eat? How do you tell? Okay, so in the book, with each recipe, I talk about each particular recipe. So just for example, here we have carrot cake cupcake. I don't know if you can see them.
Yes, we can. You're making me hungry.
With cream cheese frosting. Okay, so if you don't want to do a really high dose, or perhaps you're watching your calories, you can make this without the frosting. Only put the can of butter in the cake part and have a lower dose edible. Or you can also put it in the cream cheese frosting and have a full-on heavy-duty dose edible. So it's going to depend on a couple of things. How strong is your can of butter? How strong is your coconut oil, whatever you make? And I talk in the book about that, and it's pretty complicated, so I don't know if we can get into it too much on this show, but based on that, you can then titrate your recipe. All right, so you can use a full can of butter, you can use half can of butter, half regular butter. You can, you know what I mean? Like you can only use it in the cake and not the icing, and each recipe is broken down for you based on how high a dose you want.
And so I don't own the cookbook just yet because I haven't had a chance to order it, but I'm going to because I cannot wait to get my hands on it. The question I have is, in your book, is it graduated as far as recipes that maybe would be good to start with, and you have already written it out for somebody that maybe is not as creative in the kitchen, to realize, oh, we could do a stick of butter and we could do so much can of butter, and then it's a lighter edible for maybe somebody that has a low tolerance.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I have, there's a section of breads and rolls in the book. So it's also very much low dose, and it's low sugar, low fat. You know, it's sort of I talk a lot about the calories in the book too. I'm a California girl. We're all about, here.
Yes.
And so you want to kind of think about your doses versus your calories. So if, let's say, you need to have your medicine, if it's medical and you want to have a daily dose, you don't necessarily want to have to eat 5 chocolate chip cookies every day to get your medicine. You know, you want to make a high dose 1 cookie and break it into 5 pieces, So it's going to be very individual how you want to make each of the recipes.
Can of butter, through the process that you described, is it fattier? Does it have more calories than a dairy-based butter?
It's the same butter.
The same.
You use regular old butter.
Okay.
It's the same butter. You're just going to be putting your cannabis infusion in it. So it will turn the butter a little bit green. Okay. So that's an aspect I talk about in the book too, how to deal with, like, let's say you don't want your thing to look green. You know, like I showed you the carrot cake cupcakes. You don't want green cream cheese frosting on your carrot cake cupcakes. It's not going to look tasty. So how to deal with that, you know, maybe only put it in the cake, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Now, as far as the release of the baking cookbook, how long has it been on the market and available for purchase?
It was technically published on September 21st, but only the ebook came out then, because there was a sort of technical glitch. You know, COVID has really messed up every single industry, including publishing, you know.
Yes.
So it didn't even really come out on the market until the end of October. So it's been about 2 months for it. So it's new, brand new.
Okay. And where are we able to purchase the book?
It's on all over, wherever you can get books online. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo. If you're somewhere in Florida, you can get it from the library for free.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, starting the library. So, yeah, it's pretty much all over. But Amazon, I think it might be on sale right now, or it will be very soon. Yeah, kind of the price comes up and down.
Okay. Have you received any unique feedback from users, readers? You know, it's a cookbook. Is that a reader? Is it a user?
Both in this case.
Right.
I have stories. The stories in the book, you know, I talk about sort of the evolution of marijuana from the 70s until now, from how illegal it was to, you know, I really believe we're right on the edge of kind of how alcohol was right before prohibition was lifted. It's going to explode, you know, the industry. There's going to be, you'll see, you know, it's going to be really explode. So, yeah, you know, Tommy Chong was lovely and gave me a blurb and said that it was a must for the medical cannabis community, because they do talk a lot about how to use it medically, you know, safely in the book. So that was so great of him. And then I had a lot of taste testers.
Really?
So, yes. So I got feedback all the way through. And, you know, I kind of learned too, like chocolate cream pie, for example, is in the book. If you put the pot in the chocolate cream pudding and the crust, and one of my testers ate an entire slice before bed, oh, no.
Too much, huh?
Oh my God. He blamed his own self, because I told him, do not eat the whole piggies, but it's really, you know, it tastes really good. So that's a little bit of an issue. You kind of want to eat more than you should, right? So yeah, that wasn't good. So you kind of learn.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised when Tommy Chong, I can't really say you endorsed, but he gave you such a glowing recommendation? Were you surprised?
I was thrilled. I was really, really thrilled. Yeah, so he did. And also a man named Keith Stroop,
Mm-hmm.
who, if you're in the marijuana community, you know Keith Stroop. He's the head of NORML, NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. And Keith has been working since the 70s on reforming marijuana laws. And he also gave me a glowing recommendation on the book. And so thank you to Keith, because that was lovely of him. So yeah, so these people that are well in the marijuana community are behind it, which is wonderful. I hope everybody will get it, try it, and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope so too. I am a huge advocate for everything that's happening progressively within the cannabis and hemp world. So as far as your butters, do you have a specific strain that you prefer, maybe for taste or clarity or color, or what do you like using the most for your baking?
Okay, well, so now we're talking about strains of marijuana, which that's a whole other deal. Generally, marijuana, two strains. There's indica and sativa, okay? And then there's the hybrid of the two. So the indica strains are more relaxing, more for sleep, more for when you want to just kind of chill. The sativa strains are more for when you want to be kind of up and clear and, maybe working, but you still need the medication. So those are the two basic strains, and then there's everything in between where you put them together. So you can, based on what you need, make something, let's just say, with all indica for sleep and all sativa for day, but that kind of thing.
You know what I find so interesting? I remember it was about 10 years ago. Now, 10 years ago was the dark ages here on the East Coast for anybody thinking about anything with legalizing cannabis in any way, shape, or form. And I had a friend of mine who was in Los Angeles and said, you know what? This is going to be like wine. It is going to have absolutely the connoisseur different blends and varieties. Is there a variety that you enjoy?
Okay, well, so I grow my own.
Okay.
And I highly recommend, if you really do get into it or you need it for medicine, that you do that, because it's expensive to buy. And yeah, it's a lot of work to grow your own, but once you kind of learn how, it gets easier. I grew this year a really interesting strain called Old Family Purple.
Oh.
Which is it's an unusual strain. It's hard to get, but I really like it, and it's mostly indica, but there's a little bit of sativa in it. It's called Old Family Purple. I like that one.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm typing that into the broadcast so everybody can follow along. We are talking about baking with cannabis with Veronique Windsor, the author of the book. How long did it take you to compile all the images and all the recipes for the book?
4 years. Took me 4 years. Yeah, 4 years.
4 years. Oh my, yeah. Did you have any help? I know that you mentioned testers, but did you have any help?
I pretty much did it myself. It was 79 recipes. So, not all of them came out the first time. I have macarons in here.
Ooh.
Have you ever tried to make the macaron?
Yes, I have.
Well, how did you do?
I did well. I realized the best macaroon that I had made was I whipped it in the blender. I did. Yeah, I did. I put, of course, the egg whites and the cream of tartar and the coconut and everything else that goes into it. The mixer wasn't whipping it fast enough nor hard enough. And my coconut, I didn't want it stringy. So I put it in the blender and it made this nice, not too fluffy, but a nice macaron with body. How do you make yours?
So that's the macaroon. And the reason I don't have the macaroon in my cookbook is because there's not much fat in the macaroon. But there isn't any. But I made it as the macaron.
I don't know the difference.
You know, the macaron?
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful.
The macaron, you know, the little French. They are really difficult to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really hard. And so it took me like many, many tries. And so that added time, you know. And then you have to photograph. I did all the photographs myself. And, you know, it really took a long time to get the recipe right. And, you know, 4 years.
Oh my. And you know, everything just looks so fantastic. I'm looking at it looks like it's either a peach or an apple pie-lette, a small one. What would be your favorite, if you had to pick 3, favorite recipes in the entire book?
I love the little gingerbread people that I make. They used to call them gingerbread men, but now they have to be gingerbread people because they're sort of, you know. Let's see if I can find them to show you. And the reason that I like them is because not only do they taste really good, they're pretty low calorie as well, but you can travel with them fairly easily. When you think about, like, if you need to take your medicine with you, you know, if you're flying somewhere, I can't find them now, but they're just little gingerbread men. They're one of my favorites because they're low calorie, they're easy to take with. You don't have to ice them, you just make them plain, you know.
Yes.
So I like those. And then I have regular old chocolate chip cookies in there that you can make either with a can of butter or coconut oil.
Nice.
Both of those recipes are really good. And then the mini fruit tarts that are on the cover right here.
Oh, beautiful.
Those are to die for. Most of the marijuana in those is in the crust. So you can make them so that if you just want to get your dosage, you can just eat the crust and not have all the other calories. Or you can just have the whole, you know, however you want to eat it.
You know, I've heard some reports, I've actually read a couple of reports about people who do not have a gallbladder, because, you know, of course, it needed to be surgically removed, that edibles would not affect them quite as much as someone with an intact gallbladder. Have you ever heard that? Do you believe it?
I don't know. You know, I think if you don't have a gallbladder, it's going to be hard for you to digest fat, if I'm correct. And so you probably would want to stay away from edibles unless you could use like a tincture or something you could just put under your tongue that doesn't have fat in it. But I'm not a medical expert, so definitely would want to check with your doctor if your gallbladder isn't with you anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you?
Good question.
Well, thank you. Do you bake with anything other than cannabis butter, like a tincture? You know, a MCT, which is coconut oil tincture. Can you bake with that to maybe get a better color if you are concerned about the green color of canna butter?
You know, coconut oil doesn't get as green, so you can use that. You know, tinctures are going to be using some sort of an alcohol, you know, and I haven't gone there yet. So I don't know about that. That might be the follow-up book 4 years from now if I'm still on the planet. We'll see. Yeah, so I don't know about that.
In all of the categories within the book, I'm assuming you have icings and pies and cookies and cakes that we've talked about. Do you also make candies? What are all the categories that you cover in your baking cookbook?
I didn't go too much into candy as far as like chocolate and that kind of thing, or hard candy. That is such a vast world unto itself that, you know, to make chocolate is sort of like people are like, well, what do you mean? Are you going to start with a cocoa bean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no. Yeah, so I didn't go that far. So it's really all baked goods. I do choose some breads and rolls so that it's not all sugary.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, it's mostly sweets, cookies, brownies, pies, maybe pies, and chassies. Have you ever heard of chassies?
No, what is that?
Okay, and so this is a Southern thing, and I really, part of wanting to write the book was to bring it to people here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the chassis, this is the key lime chassis. Let me see if you can see it if I hold it up.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, this looks so good.
So it's like it's a little mini crust, like a little teeny mini pie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called the chassis, and it's a southern thing.
That's
That is
so
perfect for edible.
Yes, I can see that. You know, the 1-2 bite. That is so interesting. I've never heard of a tassie. Well, thank you so much for that. You learn something new every single day, right? Mm-hmm. In the next book, 4 years from now, what would you like to delve into a little bit more? Was there anything once you were actually done with this book you thought, oh, I forgot that recipe?
You know, they used to ask women right after they gave birth if they wanted to be sterilized, and they all said yes. The book just came out, so I'm kind of like, I can't even go that far yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think about it. But, I mean, if I was going to think about it, this is all pretty sweet stuff. Mm-hmm. And the people that want to still bake with cannabis that maybe don't eat sugar wouldn't be able to find much in here. So, you know, and then there's the vegan. And so perhaps another cookbook that is really much more just all health, sugar-free, vegan, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. In 4 years, we'll see.
Well, I think you are absolutely delightful. I cannot wait to get my hands on your baking cookbook, Baking with Cannabis. This is Veronique Windsor, the author. And I want to thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me. I really had fun.
Yes, I did too. Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you so much. We will talk to you again soon. And hey, if you happen to crank out another book and you want to come back on, you're now a friend of the show and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, good night.
Okay, night.
Oh my goodness, what a lovely, lovely lady. Everybody, you've got to go get the book. Like she said, it is available anywhere and everywhere. Your local bookstore, you can walk in and say, I need Baking with Cannabis by Veronique. And as always, we are blessed. You are blessed. I love you. Stay tuned. Next up, it's 9 p.m. Eastern.